wanted me to save it more than just a couple times. Why do we fall in love so easy? Even when it's not right.
Ipate Beach.
Where there is desire, there's gonna be a flame. Where there is a flame, someone's bound to get burned. But just because it burns doesn't mean you're gonna die. You gotta get up and try, try, and try.
A previously unrecognized coronavirus was discovered at the Yunnan Seafood Wholesale Market in Wuhan, China in late December 2019. The coronavirus is the source of an illness known as coronavirus diseases 2009 or COVID-19, which has spread around the world. For this report, we are looking into the impact of COVID-19 on the overall economic performance and specifically on the operation of SMEs within two emerging markets that are currently growing: the people of Republic of China and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Okay, this is a general outline of China and Saudi Arabia, including the country, capital, location, population, density, urban population, land area, currency, geography, demography, ethnic origins, religions, climax, natural resources, and official language. Culture system: China, harmony with uniformity, and Saudi traditional and conservative with Islamic influence. Political system: China, socialist system, and Saudi monarchy state. Economy system: China, mixed economy, and Saudi a tribute of common economy.
Our group had gathered some information that has been obtained through statistical developments from both these countries for comparative purposes. Those statistics are based on their population, gross domestic product (GDP), export, import, foreign direct investment (FDI), business confidence, ease of business, and also tax. For more information about this data, let's look at the three main comparisons that we gather, which are about their GDP, export, and import through the achievement of international business operations. Okay, statistic on GDP through finding from World Banks throughout the development of the economy from 2011 to 2021. The growth of China GDP is seen as small growth compared to the Saudi Arabia. This is based on the steady economic improvement despite the penetration pandemic which has occurred from 2019 until now. Based on the statement released by the National Bureau of Economic Statistics, China maintained a stable recovery with production and demand rising, jobs and price remaining stable, market expectation improving, and also key macro indicators remaining within a reasonable range. For the Arab Saudi country, the growth in GDP showed an increase of 1.10% in the second quarter of 2021 compared to the previous quarter. This is because Saudi Arabia is one of the countries that producing the largest oil producer in the world. The fallen economy in 2020 is because of its due to the economic slowdown and restriction from producer materials to foreign country due to the spreading of the pandemic. However, according to the global macro model and analysis expectation, GDP in Saudi Arabia will be expected to reach around $790 billion by the end of 2031. As for export statistic related assessment, China still maintains the highest percentage in its marketing revenue with an average growth of around $725.77 billion USD from 1981 to 2021, compared with Saudi Arabia, which has which has received a return of 223,648 million ASR from 1968 to 2021. China export also surged to 25.6% year on year, with an achievement of about 294.32 billion USD in August 2021. This was attributed to the increase in strong foreign demand, particularly the US and Europe, offsetting the local COVID-19 outbreak and also port congestion. Compared with the expansion of export in Saudi Arabia, there has been a slight decline in its export marketing in 2020, which we can see that the market demand, especially oil, fall due to the effect of the outbreak and restriction from the foreign country to control the influx goods from other countries. For market growth through imports, China, as we know, is still maintaining high growth with a good increase, especially in 2021, of 236 billion USD in August 2021. This is the result of successful containment measure taken by China in the wake of the ongoing outbreak tensions. The increase in import through coal source jumped 35.8% due to the tight domestic supply and strong demand and iron ore import for the first time in 5 months. Import demand from Saudi Arabia has also seen an increase of 124,056 million ASR in the first quarter of 2021. This is also the result of remedial measure made by the Saudi Arabia government party to ensure an economic recovery within their country. According to the global macro model trade and analysis expectations, imports in Saudi Arabia will also be expected to continue to grow to 135,275 million ASR by the end of this quarter.
Inflow of export and import during COVID-19 and current situation. Despite China's tight restriction, the country is relatively open to foreign business, which accounted for 35.7% of GDP in 2019. China experienced a dip of $48 billion of its export in February 2020 as compared to the export recorded in the same month in the previous year. But the drop was quickly followed by an increase on particular export goods such as tactile face masks, surgical masks, disposable face masks, and single-use strips. It recovered quickly and its export increased by $40 billion in July 2020. Growth was also aided by the private sector. We can saw a distinct movement away from typical Chinese export items. This quick development, which occurred in early 2020, demonstrates that Chinese manufacturers are capable of converting their manufacturing facilities to meet demand in the new market sector. In the middle of the crisis, China boosted mass manufacturing from 20 million to 116 million per day, resumed its role as a mass exporter. Saudi Arabia is the world's top oil exporter. The kingdom economy shrank last year due to the twin shock of the COVID-19 pandemic and the lower oil prices. Saudi Arabia economy was negatively impacted in a variety of ways. It was hit by a low global price of oil and crude production, and which depressed the oil export and government fiscal receipts. The kingdom are trying to boost the non-oil sector through a multi-trillion-dollar spending push that will require a state company to cut dividends they pay to the government to boost capital spending. But in the case of Saudi Arabia, however, followed by an unexpectedly sharp peak on the oil prices in the second half of the year 2020, grew its export firmer. The value of Saudi Arabia's oil export in May 21 increased 147% to 16 billion USD from a year earlier. Oil export account for 73.2% of Saudi total exports. Stronger oil demand will support Saudi Arabia economic recovery in 2020, with GDP's growth expected to reach at 2.4%. Medium-term growth is projected average 3% over the forecasted period 2021 to 2022. Challenge due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The worldwide government restriction on commercial and personal activities have resulted in several waves of disruption of internal trade. The initial impact came from China in the form of supply-side disruption. As the result of the decrease in output, the supply of export and import is also decreased. The second impact has manifested itself in the shape of decrease in demand. Consumer storefronts have been forced to close due to interruption of economic activity, and retail firms have to stop receiving orders for new products both locally and abroad. Many nations also amended port protocol, which may include port closure, quarantine rules, additional documentation and check, which all of these have hindered smooth business movement. A limitation on this movement resulted in a shortage of supply, which led to a rise in costs, impacting food supplies and affordabilities. Flight cancellation, travel bans have also reduced air cargo availability, while strong demand for urgent commodities such as medical supplies, ICT equipment, and food has boosted cargo prices. UNCTAD reported that air freight prices climbed between 30% to 60% last year. Trade flow have been harmed as the result of this scenario. The growing number of the cities that have adopted the sealing up approach, as well as the significant reduction number of people who have chosen not to return to their hometown or travel to other destinations, are having a significant influence on the transportation industry. As the disease continues to spread, the transportation industry will continue to suffer. Furthermore, food supply chains were interrupted due to issues such as the unexpected closure of eateries and the need of proper biosecurity measures. Most countries are focused on safeguarding the health and economic security of their citizens, impose a new trade restricting measures and protectionist measures. Indirectly, it is becoming the source of unfair competition and distortion of the global trade.
I'm Rifki Alil, A177833. Let's look at how the emerging markets react towards COVID-19. In China, their responses towards COVID-19 have been closely compared with how they reacted to SARS in 2003. During COVID-19, China has acted fast enough to curb the virus from spreading and affecting its people. In terms of public safety, China's leadership has been focusing its funding on producing vaccines to fight the coronavirus as soon as possible. Apart from that, China has implemented several fiscal and monetary policies to combat the effect of COVID-19 towards their economy. In 2021, China announced discretionary fiscal measures targeted towards the public, which includes bigger spending on epidemic prevention and control, production of medical equipment, disbursement of unemployment insurance, tax relief, and waived social security contributions, and additional public investment. These fiscal measures were estimated around $760 billion. Moving on to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's response toward the pandemic COVID-19 is considered as unprecedented, as the kingdom has never needed to respond to such crisis before. The global economic downturn has pushed the price of oil down. The monarchy is under tremendous pressure to cut down the production and supply of oil to stimulate price growth. But this strategy is in return bringing less oil revenue towards the kingdom. On top of that, in 2020, King Salman has taken another unprecedented step of shutting the holy cities of Mecca and Medina to everyone. This further reduced the revenue coming into Saudi Arabia. Despite the inexperienced leadership in response to the pandemic, Saudi Arabia has come up with a plan to contain it. Saudi Arabia is teaming up with the nations of G20 to coordinate efforts to minimize the humanitarian and economic impact of COVID-19. In terms of Saudi's fiscal policy in response to COVID-19, a sum of $18.7 billion were allocated to support private sector. The package includes suspension of tax payment, temporary electricity subsidies, and deferring loan payments due in 2020. Plus, another 6 billion Saudi Arabian Riyal to support wage benefits in private sector companies. Compare COVID-19 management between China and Saudi Arabia. China and Saudi Arabia have a different set of culture, political, and economic systems. The management of COVID-19 pandemic differs among these two nations. China's experience in handling pandemic crisis with its socialist system supported by uniformity culture has enabled China's government to quickly implement policies and measures to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 to its people and economy including SMEs. Citizens trusted their leaders and came together as a nation to promptly adapt to new rules and restrictions ordered. China's leadership has overcome the strain on its economy by switching and adapting to new business opportunities. The fiscal and monetary measures backed by a massive government funding applied towards China's SMEs has been sufficient to ensure the country to bounce back its economy from the downturn of COVID-19. That's all from me. Thank you.
So the conclusion, undeniably, the COVID-19 pandemic has been affecting the whole world in terms of health and economic situation. Advanced economies are well equipped to combat the crisis with massive fundings and economic tools. On the other hand, emerging markets have been struggling to cope with the crisis. More importantly, the performance of SMEs within emerging markets are affected in a negative way. Nevertheless, few emerging markets are able to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on its economies through the implementation of effective fiscal and monetary policies targeting to revive the economy, starting from the well-being of the people and their SMEs. In China's and Saudi Arabia's situation, these emerging markets are able to bounce back from COVID-19. Through extensive fiscal and monetary funding packages, China and Saudi Arabia are able to support their SMEs. Each nation is using their own comparative advantage to further strengthen their economic revitalization. Our findings show that the Chinese economy was very flexible in these challenging times, and it was able to reorient its production of export articles very quickly. Thus, the growth could continue based on the increased exports compared to Saudi Arabia. It is important to note that China has the largest global economy and accounts for a significant portion of global commerce and GDP, whereas Saudi Arabia is an emerging market in the Middle East. Any negative shocks to major economies likely to have far-reaching implications for the rest of the globe. As a result, the COVID-19 crisis has had a significant impact on both economies and continues to do so. Thank you.